There's a phrase that has gone through the traditionalist world like an electric shock. It's not from a journalist, it's not from an internet polemicist, it's from Bishop Fellay, the man who more than anyone else believed in reconciliation with Rome. On April 19, 2026, at the Church of the Immaculate Conception in St. Mary's, Kansas, Bishop Bishop Fellay, former Superior General of the Priestly Society of St. Pius X for 24 years, spoke words that no one expected. There is a very high probability that all of you and we with you will be excommunicated, declared schismatic. Not a journalist, not an adversary, the man who led the fraternity for a quarter of a century. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Leo is in a trap from which there is no escape, and why, no matter what he does in the next 64 days, the Society of St. Pio will emerge stronger than before. Let's start with the facts. On July 1st, 2026, at the Chapel of Écon, Switzerland, the mother chapel of the Society, the consecration of new bishops is scheduled, exactly as Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre did in 1988. Then Cardinal Bernardin Gantin signed the decree of excommunication against Lefebvre and the 4 bishops he had consecrated, invoking Canon 1382 of the Code of Canon Law, which punishes anyone who consecrates a bishop without a papal mandate. The Holy See had taken its toughest position. The result was the opposite of what was hoped for. The fraternity then numbered about 200 priests. Today, it has over 600, with seminaries on 4 continents and steady growth year after year. In 2009, Benedict XVI revoked those excommunications with the decree Ecclesiae Unitatem. It was a historic breakthrough, but one destined to remain unfinished. 16 years later, Leon finds himself at the same crossroads, but in incomparably more challenging conditions. To understand the weight of these words, you need to know who Fellay is and why his words matter so much. Bishop Fellay is not an internet polemicist. He is the man who for years conducted direct negotiations with Rome, who in 2012 signed the doctrinal preamble with Benedict XVI, and who more than anyone else within the fraternity believed in the possibility of a canonical reconciliation with the Holy See. When Fellay says very high probability of excommunication, he is not making propaganda and he is not gathering emotional support. He knows the Vatican corridors, the confidential files, the inner workings of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith. His is a technical judgment, calibrated with the precision of someone who has dealt with the matter for 2 decades. But he added a sentence that changes everything. God can work miracles. This is not the end. Fellay isn't pessimistic, he's realistic. And the distinction, for anyone who has followed this story closely, is crucial. Let's not move forward without understanding this. Leo is faced with what is called a catch-22, a logical trap from which there is no escape. Rorate Cayley analyzed the situation precisely. 3 possible paths, none of which can be taken without unsustainable costs. First option, the Pope excommunicates the Society. The result would be the same as in 1988. Priests become martyrs, emotional affiliation explodes, and the numbers grow. The excommunication of 1988 started with 200 priests. That of 2026 would find over 600, in a context where the traditional Mass already has millions of faithful. Second option, the Pope does nothing and lets bishops be ordained without intervening. The message this sends to the Catholic world is devastating. Canon law can be applied at will. The Holy See no longer controls its own legal structures. Any group can do what it wants without consequences. Third option, a last-minute agreement, a personal prelature, a creative solution that satisfies both parties. Fellay himself has suggested it, but negotiations in recent years have yielded nothing, and the calendar reads July 1st. Let's pause for a moment. In recent weeks, sources close to the Society report that several delegations have met with Vatican officials in Rome, but the contents of these discussions have not been made public. The very fact that they are taking place so close to the appointment says something. And here, things get complicated significantly. There's a second level to this story, perhaps even more disturbing than the first. Crisis magazine recently published an in-depth canonical analysis based on theses defended in Rome by experts trained at the pontifical universities. The Canton Decree of 1988 raises at least a significant doubt, if not a reasonable certainty, against the validity of the declaration of excommunication. In other words, those excommunications of 1988 may never have been valid, not because Lefebvre was right in what he did, but because of procedural and doctrinal questions that canonists are reopening with precise technical arguments. If this doubt were founded, Rome did not excommunicate anyone in 1988. It only created the illusion that it had done so. Here lies the paradox that no one wants to mention. If the canonical doubt is well-founded, any decree Leo issues on July 1st could be challenged in ecclesiastical courts with the same arguments. The Society has already had its own canonists at work for months. This means that Rome could find itself in the position of issuing a formally contested excommunication before the ink is even dry. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's the calculation the Society's jurists are currently making. The real question, the one no one dares ask, is this: has Leo understood the trap he's in, or is he walking toward it without seeing it? The history of the Church knows this pattern, and knows it well. In the 18th century, Clement V issued the bull Unigenitus against the Jansenists, excommunications, condemnations, decrees. The movement survived for another 150 years, fueled by the very sense of persecution that condemnation had generated. In 1870, Pius IX defined the dogma of papal infallibility at the First Vatican Council. 60 bishops who did not agree left the council without voting. Some of them gave birth to the Old Catholic Church, which still exists today, 156 years later, small but alive. The question every traditionalist is asking these days is Leo XIV a Pius IX, a pope who feels he must draw a clear line, even knowing the consequences? So far, the signals are contradictory. The Prefecture for the Sacraments has already issued circulars restricting the fraternity's priests in certain pastoral areas. But Leon has not yet signed anything definitive regarding July 1st, and this silence, 64 days from the date, is a response in itself. This is the point of no return, not because the Society is in danger. As we have seen, the excommunications of 1988 did not destroy it, but rather multiplied it. The point of no return concerns Rome. Any wrong move in the next 64 days will cost the Holy See a credibility it will not recover for decades. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.